So far today, we're having a down day, and Mittens is in here keeping Johnny company.
So, this is a drag minivan.
You drag racing in a minivan? That's pretty funny. Is it fast?
Yes. The speedometer is in the bottom right corner.
Uh-huh. I can't see it. Tell me.
It's now going 100 miles per hour.
Okay.
It's got 5x14 drag rails in the rear and skinnies in the front. I don't know what they're called. It's got a V6 turbo. This chart up here thinks it's making about 245 bhp and about 313. Oh wait, no. It's making 3,488 pound-feet of torque.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're having fun with your cars today, Johnny. Hey, bud.
Hey, Mom.
Glad you're going with me. Johnny and I are headed up near Crabtree Valley Mall to drop off a bunch of glass ball canning jars and extra bags from Whole Foods to our farm folks that bring our stuff from farm. I'm a little tardy in getting some of their glass back to them, so today seemed to be a good day to do it. Come here, buddy. Come here. That's my good boy. It's only 53 out there today, and we've got a little bit of rain on the way overnight into tomorrow morning. It's supposed to come in off the coast and not really reach Asheboro, which is west of us, which is where the zoo is. So my fingers are crossed our trip's gonna go over okay. But the weather is not as nice as I would like for it to be. And Johnny was mostly wanting a down day today. Well, me too, because tomorrow's gonna be a pretty full day. You know, head out of here at like 8:30, probably get back at like 7 or something. So it'll be a very full day tomorrow. So not doing too much today is a good thing. It's not raining enough to get the road wet, but Ruby has cleared the windshield several times. I'm disappointed that it's raining on us out here. I guess I thought it was just gonna look ugly, but not actually start raining until later in the day. Mission accomplished. We got all the glass and bags and other farm items returned and put back in this storage shed. One of the reasons I had Johnny come with me is that I needed help with these gates. I mean, no reason that I can't, but sometimes the dogs that are here try to push out of the gate. So it's better to have two people, one in the car and one actually opening and closing the gate, just to make sure one of the family pets doesn't get out. Yep, it's close quarters here. We're stopped here at the Holly Springs Walmart, which is both newer and bigger than Fuquay, but I always prefer Fuquay better. One of the fitness watches behind us is beeping, but no luck here today at the Hot Wheels display. No luck finding any poultry platter either. She's pretty when she's wet, but I like her dry and cleaner better. To get his hair cut, and he was ready to try to sort of swipe it to the side, so we stopped in here at Fantastic Sam's, and I think the lady did a really nice job. Maria. Hey, Donnie.
Hey, pretty girl.
You went for your run?
Yeah, went for my run.
It's not nice out there. I don't know how or why you did that, but
it sprinkled on me the whole way. Yeah, my feet are wet.
Yeah, Ruby's wet.
That's okay. You're gonna drive her tomorrow and have a great day.
So you tinkering?
Yeah,
just doing a little garage stuff before you come inside?
Yeah, the switch on this sander is kind of messed up, and I'm working on that.
Okay. I have made us some really good beef and broccoli. There's fried rice underneath there. We are eating up good tonight. So when I got back from town today, Dawn was listening to a podcast. And it was the guys over at Consumer Reports and their Talking Cars podcast.
Yes.
And unfortunately, Johnny and I interrupted Dawn, but we went back and listened to it together, and then we've listened to it a second time. So Dawn's listened to it 3 times. I've heard it twice now.
Episode 194.
Okay, yeah, and they had a segment. The segment in there on Tesla had to do with Tesla. Started out with Tesla's been in the news.
Right.
And I found it to be a little upsetting. Maybe that's too strong, but I certainly thought that they used verbiage or said things that were negative. I didn't hear a positive thing in the entire report, and I was a little miffed.
They were dissing on Tesla. That's, I mean,
I think they were.
They were not trying to say anything other than the most, they were factual, but they said it in, the spin was in a negative context.
Yeah, it came across as they were trying to talk people out of buying a Tesla Model 3, or at least trying to tell folks that the Model 3 isn't for everyone. Well, duh, no cars for everyone out there. But that was really where they were coming from with this, and there was no positive asked in. So, I'm trying to think of where we should start with what they said. If you've got something. Well,
first of all, they went over the news part, which was the first 90 seconds. The guy was accurate. He said, you know, the Tesla has announced the $35,000 Model 3, and then at the same time they've announced the closing of the stores, and then they announced that, oh, we're not really closing the stores, and then they announced, oh, we're going to raise prices. And then they said, you know, and if that wasn't confusing enough, we did this thing with autopilot, self-driving, little hip-hop flip-flop back on that, and oh yeah, and then the cherry on top was the Model Y was announced. But that's,
it's just a little aside there. Oh yeah, there was this Model Y thing.
I just gave you the level of detail
that they provided. It was that quick.
It was no, oh, it's a 3%. It was anyway, the point is they just kind of wanted Tesla to sound like
they didn't know what they were doing.
Well, let me be clear. I'm sure Tesla knows what they're doing. It just I think that they could have thought things out a little bit better myself. I've actually been critical of Tesla and said, look, you know, you can decide when to pull the Band-Aid off and how you're going to pull it off. You know, I know you got to pull it off, but you could have done it a little. Thought a little bit more about it, so you didn't have to reverse yourself 3 times.
All right, well, I heard something to the effect, and honest, I don't remember where I heard it, and I don't know if it's true or not, but something to the effect of their grand plans to close some of the stores couldn't be executed upon because it wasn't as easy to get out of the leases for the property as they thought it might have been. So are you really saving money if you still have to pay for all of the leases on the property? You might as well go ahead and run some of the store operations, except in the places which they closed, which really weren't of that, as you know, doing very much business, very much value add. And I personally, I have a lot of trouble listening to this moving to an online sales model. Well, the only way anybody ever ordered a Tesla is, you know, online here in the last, I don't know, since we ordered Ruby, you know, you might have been in a Tesla showroom and ordered, or you were at home at your own computer or ordered, or you were sitting in your Tesla and you ordered, but you weren't just, it wasn't a piece of paper, didn't have to have a person involved. So it really wasn't that big of a shift, folks. It really wasn't that big of a shift. So they admitted that their job, as they said, was to give advice. So these guys right there, it's their opinion. This wasn't one of those CR things where they had a whole bunch of data in front of them on tests that they had done, which was scientific, that you could sort of buy into the scientific process there. This was their, quote, their advice. So, yeah, I mean, that kind of bothered me, because I expect for Consumer Reports to give me numbers on real data and real tests, and then I can make up my own mind, because I'm a smart person as to whether or not something is right or wrong for my family.
Right, and they said it to the, said, you know, if you're a tech geek person, and you want to be on the cutting edge, then yeah, probably Tesla's right to you. You know, they themselves at Consumer Report never talk about safety because they're not interested in safety. And these guys talking, they've never mentioned safety, because they sure didn't talk safety in this. They didn't talk about Tesla's 5-star crash rating or anything like that. They didn't talk about any of the possible environmental and climate change, none of that was important to these people. The only thing that was important to them, to make sure that you understand, the only reason you buy Tesla is because you want the leading edge technology and you like sport. Well, you know, I question, well, if you want sport, you're right, because why would you, they should stop reviewing Porsches and BMWs, because why would you want to buy those cars? Their performance is substandard. Tesla's performance is better than all of those.
Faster, 0 to 60.
I mean, well, top speed to boot. I mean, anything that these guys are going to do. But anyway,
they were very.
They didn't talk about. They never said a positive thing. They didn't talk about safety. They dissed the reliability. In fact, a viewer called. They had a viewer question who was talking about, well, doesn't the Model 3 reliability kind of get better? Isn't it gotten better? And they said, yeah, maybe, but you know,
manufacturers lie. They didn't use the word lie, but they said manufacturers have a history of telling us that they've fixed reliability issues, and then when we go back to test them, they're really not fixed.
Right.
So Elon says things have been fixed, but we'll need to test it later this year. And if indeed they have been fixed, we will. This almost verbatim.
Right.
We will upgrade our reliability rating. Well, but you know, we're just not that convinced that things were fixed. And do you want? They said, do you want to be part of a process where you buy the car in week 4 and in week 5 your thing gets fixed and then it never gets fixed on your car?
They're talking hardware type fixes.
Right. Well,
Granted,
Tesla's not going to offer to go back and retrofit the seats and all Model 3s produced before they put the more comfortable, supposedly more comfortable to some people seats in.
Right.
But there are other things that, like, I'm sure if they figure out what to do to fix the sand from getting up underneath the back bumper area, you know, they're going to go back and do something about that on current Model 3s, at least in climates where it's a problem there. So yeah, cosmetics, aesthetics sort of things, not going to go back and spend money to fix that for you, but safety, absolutely Tesla would fix it. And they've been known to be proactive about recalling things on their own cars before they even get told they have to recall them. So, you know, I'm not sold on the Tesla's continued improvement process is a problem for you if you buy a Tesla. I'm not.
I agree. And the other thing that I thought was not fair, specifically since the caller's question was related to the Model 3. They constantly brought up the Model S.
Who cares?
Now look, I get it. From 2012 to 2019, there's a lot of changes that were made to the Model S. And I know the door handles were a problem way back when. I know the screens were messed up from time to time. All these things. I'll give you all of that Consumer Reports. But I happen to feel quite, I believe I am accurate in saying that those are not the kind of problems you're going to have with a Model 3. So the history of the Model S, isn't really applicable to what the reliability of the Model 3 is going to be. So I think that was a disservice to the caller who was asking about Model 3. I agree that there are manufacturers, it used to be slightly more true than now, that, you know, like Toyota had, like, you know, you just buy a Toyota because it was a super reliable car. Well, now we found out there's several Toyotas they don't recommend anymore because they're not reliable. Honda, same way. These manufacturers now, it's different world. You just can't say, oh, just because it's a Toyota or a Honda or a GM, it's going to be this way or that way. You almost have to stand alone each model and decide what the reliability is. And I'm sure their data will show this. And they did say, you know, they're going to be getting more survey data on the Model 3, and it's a moving target. They did say that.
They used the quote moving target. They did.
But I felt like that was probably a disservice. They said, look, you know, they could have said, look, we don't know about the Model 3. But I think that saying we don't know about the Model 3, but we know the Model S sucked, therefore implying the Model 3 is going to suck, I think that was unfair.
And they mentioned the word, they actually tried to scare people away from the Model 3 because they felt it would depreciate faster. That if you had a early version or it was depreciate. Well, Kelley Blue Book had a report out on January 24th, and they had excellent things to say about the Model 3 and the Model X holding their value. As a matter of fact, the Model 3 landed at the top of the electric vehicle category with a projected 69.3% resale value after 36 months.
Yeah.
And 48.7% after 60 months. And the X was really close. I could read you the number,
Yeah.
but go out and Google it. There's an article on Teslarati where they had the quotes from
Yeah.
Kelley Blue Book. So I think you can get a Model 3 and enjoy it for a year or two and think that you could resell it or move up to the one with the latest or greatest features and be doing a lot better off than if you went and got some other manufacturer's new car off the line and wanted to trade it in 2 or 3 years. So based on Kelley Blue Book, who I think we all trust at least as much as we trust Consumer Reports, they seem to have good things to say about the depreciation.
Right. Well, I just felt that Consumer Reports, the guys, you know, they're not, they haven't drank the electric car Kool-Aid. I admit it, I am biased. I don't care which gasoline powered car they review, and I do listen to their reviews of the gasoline.
Well, Don does good. He listens to Autoline Detroit and a lot of
there's no
well-rounded view of the whole auto industry.
If I'm going to take my money and buy a car, I'm going to buy an electric car. At this point, probably Tesla would be the one. I don't know in the future. There may be Mercedes or BMW or somebody else will come out with a really great car. But quoting Elon, he like, yeah, well, you do that. We want you to come out with an electric car better than a Tesla, better than ours. Yeah, do that, please. We're begging you, do that. So, you know, I'll listen to it. But those guys, you know, they... I just had this picture in my mind. They wake up every morning and they go out to the gas tank and they sniff the gasoline tank, and if that's not enough for them, then they make sure they stop by the gas station because they don't know how in the world they cannot start their day without pulling to the gas station to fill up their car and go get a coffee. That's what their life. That's their entire life is wrapped around. They're visiting the gas station.
Well, when they
every
can
morning.
tell me they're driving an electric car, any manufacturer electric car, then I'll put more credence into their electric car reviews, I guess.
It's not good enough to drive because what happens with them...
Well, drive, that's what I meant. If you drive it, you own it. But
right.
Yeah.
Well, no, when they drive, they apparently, every time they get in, you know, they get to take the key. They describe this in other podcasts. They have a board with all the keys in it. And if you're a Consumer Reports auto type person, you go up to the board and you pick the keys off the board that you want to take home. And there's certain models that the keys are always there because nobody ever wants to drive those cars. And then there's certain keys where the keys are never there because they're always gone. Somebody's always wanting to drive the car. And so the whole thing is they change the car. They say, well, I'm going to drive the Tesla today because I'm going to go drive 400 miles. That's when I'm going to drive the Tesla today. So I know I'm going to have to fight the charging. That's what I want to do. Nobody has chargers at home. They don't plug in their cars at home. They only know how to charge them at Consumer Reports or at a supercharger or some charging place along the way. None of those people live every day with an electric car. And what I want them to do is do one of their long-term where they actually get an employee to install a charger at home, not a 110 plug, but a real charger, or just a 50 amp outlet, and then live with the car, because I guarantee you, I admit, if you're taking a cross-country trip, that probably even with supercharger, you can make the trip, but it won't be as fast as a gasoline car. I admit
it will be some percentage higher.
It will be some percentage for them. But now,
you may be happier, even though it was some percentage
but
more.
Now, what they ought to do the next time one of their employees wants to take a cross-country trip in a Consumer Reports vehicle, they should tell the Consumer Reports person, well, you can take the cross-country trip and you pay for the gas or you pay for the electricity. So you have your choice of taking a Tesla with free supercharging, or you take your credit card, not the company credit, and you drive cross-country. See which one, how important the fact that they can get to California 10 hours faster is going to be versus the $1,000 or whatever, how much it's going to be to buy all that gas.
Yeah. Well, speaking of money, they accused Tesla, that's my word, sort of on a bait and switch with the 35K Model 3 because you can only get it in black at 35K. They mentioned Henry Ford, and black is like the only color, whatever his famous quote was. Yeah,
you can get any color you want.
But it's like, in all those car ads for ICE cars that you watch on television, have you ever known them to show you the base model in the ad? Or, you know, they're not exactly, do you think that every option you want on that Honda minivan is included with the base price? I don't think so. And the one they're showing you that you see in the ad that you really want, that you love what it looks like, by the way, that's not the base model. And somewhere in the really fine print, it says, you know, price or model shown is da 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 da, or model shown has these extra features in it. And then when you go to price it, that's $10, $15, $20,000 more than what you saw.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that Tesla, and I'm going to tell you that as much as I would prefer a color other than black, that I love the white seats, that I think every Tesla ought to be equipped with autopilot, because I can't basically drive without at least traffic aware cruise control, which is included with autopilot, that if you get the 35K Tesla Model 3, you still have a Tesla and you're gonna love it. I mean, yeah, those other options are nice just like they are on any car, but you're still gonna have a Tesla and it's still gonna go pretty fast, and it's still gonna get over-the-air software updates, and it's still gonna have all those safety features that Consumer Reports neglected to mention in you know, the automatic emergency braking and traction control, and when you instead of slipping around and
all that
stuff. Yeah, I get their point, but so is every car manufacturer is going to make you want the other options, because you know that's where they're making some of their profit. And you know the autopilot's worth it. You know, if you can't get it out of the box, then plan to get it later on. At least with a Tesla, you can add it later. Right? So, yeah, so be careful what you listen to, I think, is the word of the day. It depends on the source.
I just think they mentioned that, I know we've been really long. The long and short of it is they talked about, they put everything in my opinion, they put it in the worst spin they could. Even the automatic updates, you know, the fact they never bothered to say, well, you know, when you buy your 3-year-old Honda, for the only thing you know, if you're driving a 3-year-old Honda, it is not as good a car today, 3 years later, than it was when you bought it. That's the only thing you know. Whereas if you buy a Model 3, there's only one thing I know, in 3 years it'll be a better car than when you bought it today. So they never bothered to talk about anything.
They seem very scared about the over-the-air updates.
Well,
and
the software stuff it's new to everybody, and it is a little scary. You know, hackers and all these things. I get it, but you know that doesn't mean that you should avoid it. I think Tesla. In fact, I would go the other way. I would say you would buy your advanced technology from Tesla before you would buy it from anybody else, because Tesla consistently say, you know, we're a software company that happens to sell cars. Whereas you're not a car company, they're not a car company that happens to try to do software. So, you know, Tesla is, they're focusing on their strengths, and it's the technology and the software that is their strengths.
Well, here's where it comes down to consumer opinion of their car versus reliability. Okay, so we had a software update go on, and then a bunch of the words on the screen were garbled. We did. You couldn't read a lot of the stuff. You knew what it said because you've been driving the car for a while. So I had to spend, let's just be generous and say 2 minutes rebooting the car. It does take more than 5 seconds to reboot. It's like 2 minutes. And then it was fixed and it never happened again. So am I upset because something in memory caused the wording to be garbled for a few minutes on my car? Or am I excited about the new functions that I got and said, oh, well, I had to reboot? Well, I fall into the latter category, and I think a lot of people, I mean, yeah, sure, you get the car, some other Tesla owner probably indoctrinates you into the, oh yeah, about once a month you need to reboot your car. After software updates, you might need to reboot your car, but We love the updates and what we're getting. I've never heard it, you know, except I guess when version 9 came out,
Yeah, some
and
people
they
didn't like
changed
the
the
UI.
UI.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm over it now. I see progress, you know, in the long run. My web browser's still not exactly the way it used to be, and I miss the ease of putting my photos up on the screen. But I'm still happy with version 9 and all the other things that it did. So yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to be so long-winded. We got up on our soapbox.
I thought you guys would appreciate us sticking up for Tesla today.
Listen to their podcast and
see what you think and make your own informed decision. I love you, buddy. Do good.